Our here with us now is an Indiana Republican Congressman Marlin Stutzman, a member of the House Financial Services and Budget Committees, to talk all the Tom was talking about there and so much more. Let's start with Todd Blanche, right? The Senate confirming him overnight as the next Attorney General, but punting on some other priorities like new military spending, passing the Save America Act, doing so at least until lawmakers return in September. Can Republicans get these over the finish line ahead of the midterm elections in November?
Well, good morning, Alicia. Great to be with you. Yes, it's still possible. Disappointing that it didn't happen before they left town for the August break. But at the same time, there were several other things that passed. An extension of the budget past the November election was an important accomplishment that the Senate got done. Of course, getting the Attorney General nomination across the finish line is important. And I think that one there can also, kind of bleed over into the importance of the Save America Act, making sure that our election laws are followed and that there's integrity in the election. That's one of the things that people, I hear from at home frequently is, can we trust our election process? Not necessarily here in Indiana because we have voter ID laws, but what about California? What about Illinois, right across the state line? And so the Save America Act is still a critical piece of legislation. And then, of course, making sure that our military has the funding for future operations. This new spending is not for the conflict in Iran. It's for forward spending for ships, which we're desperately behind on building ships. It's also for drone technology, which we're desperately behind in drone technology. So there's new equipment that we need to be building, and this is just not a backfill for Iran. So my hope is that they can still get it done in September.
Something else that's concerning a lot of Americans, and you might know this more than some because you sit on the financial services and budget committees, is the issues with inflation, right? And the president's handling of the Iran conflict and what pricing pressures that has put on a lot of Americans. Now you got this jobs report that just came out yesterday for July, and that was well below expectation. We lost 23,000 jobs when the expectation was 80 plus thousand added. One of the president's key campaign promises was to fix the economy. NewsNation's Batia asked former Trump press secretary Sean Spicer about this affordability crisis, and he says the Republicans' messaging hasn't been strong enough. Take a listen.
But there's no consistent and repetitious message on this at all. There's nothing about the future at all. Zero, nada. And then all they do is consistently want to remind people about how bad the other side is.
How does the party fix that messaging, particularly from now to November?
Yeah, well, you know what? If you look at that graph that you just had up, hospitality is the one that's hurting the most.
Yeah.
Construction is up. You got manufacturing that's up. You got healthcare that's up. Those others are really the base of our economy that really matter. So those are strong. And hospitality is one. In fact, my family was in hospitality and know the challenges of the restaurant business and travel, things like that. But it's good to see that those other numbers are still strong. Yeah, there is still work to be done. And of course, gas prices, those do have an effect in people's wallets. Here in Indiana, our Governor Mike Braun, has suspended the gas tax for almost 4 or 5 months now in a row. So that's definitely helping Hoosiers here in Indiana. But at the same time, it is a challenge, and it is going to be something that I think will only get better. But every time in Iran knows that whenever they can, drag this conflict out, it's going to make things harder here. But I continue to hear people here in Northeast Indiana say, you know what, we also understand the conflict in Iran has to be finished. These guys are zealots. They have to go.
Yeah, there's a lot of people hoping for a deal, at least for the Strait of Hormuz to reopen, to alleviate some of those pricing pressures at the pump. Last time that happened with the last MOU, we saw gas prices come down some 40 cents in about a month. On the other side of the aisle, for Democrats, they have their own struggles, right? There's been this growing concern of division within the Democratic Party. You got former Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg and other Democrats working last night to try and bridge the gap within the party at a rally in Detroit. Take a listen to what Buttigieg said at that rally.
There's a lot of folks asking questions, people who did not vote the way we would have liked them to vote the last few times. And the time has come to reach out to them, and we are not there to say we told you so. We are there to say those guys don't deserve you. Join us, and together let's do something better.
What's the Republican counterpoint to that message?
Well, of course, Pete used to be a neighbor here in northern Indiana and then moved to Michigan, ironically. And I think that the Democrat Party is in such disarray and so divided. I mean, their division is over, liberal government versus socialism and communism now. And the fact that El Said won the Democrat primary in Michigan is really stunning because he beat the Democrat establishment. He beat Haley Stevens, who is a very good candidate for the Democrat Party, would have made that race a much more challenging race. I have family that live in Michigan, and they also just see the direction that Michigan is going and that the Democrat Party is so out of touch with everyday Michiganders. For even Al Said to go to Mackinac Island, which is one of the pearls of Michigan, and talked several years ago about how he hated even being on Mackinac Island. It's just like he is so out of touch with Michigan. Michigan is such a beautiful place. They've had their struggles economically due to bad policy. But even you look at the votes in the Detroit area, they went for Haley Stevens and not Al Said. I think this division in the Democrat Party is deep, and it's something that they're going to have to deal with for probably a generation.
You started to touch on my next question here. Republicans are planning their first midterm convention. Some are calling it more of a rally in Dallas next month. And a new Axios report claims the party plans to accuse Democrats of that shift, moving more towards a socialist mindset. How do you expect that language to land, with voters, particularly moderate voters, deciding, which party to vote for?
Well, I think the biggest example is look at Mayor Mamdani in New York City. I mean, some of the plans and programs that he's putting together, these city-run grocery stores, that just reminds us all of communism. I mean, that's only what it can be and what it is. We don't want to go back to government-run businesses. That's just such an insult to us as Americans. We love freedom, we love choices, we love the free enterprise system. And to watch the direction that the Democrat Party is going with their leaders. I mean, AOC, who I think will be their presidential nominee in 28, is going to be the face of the party. And then, of course, you have El Said as the face in this election in Michigan, and Mamdani in New York City. And you also see the anti-Semitism that's growing so rapidly in the Democrat Party just shows the direction that they're going. And I think that, socialism is one thing. Communism is also right there. Socialism leads to communism. And you can vote yourself into communism, but you can't vote yourself out. Yeah. So I think the American people better pay close attention to what the Democrat Party is saying, because it's really real. It's not something that they're just saying.
Yeah, I will say the last hour, Mick Mulvaney, put out a warning to Republicans even on that point of, the Trump administration taking stake in some 30 companies around the country. And that may be a hard point to kind of counter when Democrats bring that up. Before I let you go, though, Congressman, I want to ask you about some new legislation that you introduced recently. There's no leniency for Fentanyl Drug Dealer Act. Can you tell us more about this legislation and the response that you have gotten from your colleagues in Washington?
Yeah, it's been great. I mean, of course, we know the fentanyl epidemic that's been affecting Americans, especially young people across the country. But this is going after dealers. This is increasing penalties. We're going to be sure that if anybody is, selling and is dealing fentanyl anywhere around the country, they're caught. The punishments are going to be dramatic. And it's going to go up the food chain to those who are also manufacturing. And so from top to bottom, we're going to attack this in a greater way. President Trump has done a phenomenal job on the war on drugs, and I support him even, going after these ships that are coming across, these boats that are coming across from other countries. So great response, and looking forward to, support here very quickly to do something to make a difference in people's lives across the country.
Yeah, seems like a common sense piece of legislation. Good luck with you on getting this across the finish line. Indiana Republican Congressman Marlin Stutzman, appreciate your time.